online that we do. So 80% of our new downloads and our new users come from the previous users. That, in essence, is what's known as viral marketing. The reason this slide is built that way is because our growth strategy is to replicate what we've done with IncrediMail. IncrediMail is doing very well, but it's starting to flat out. We've already have 80 million users, 80 million registered downloads. The growth strategy really is to replicate with new products that bear the same concept of fun, entertaining computer software that personalizes either your email or your instant messaging or your desktop experience, and I'll show you examples of these products. These products in turn have a very high component of viral marketing, hence distributing themselves, and then we monetize those users by one of several ways. Either we sell them, if looking at the product slide, we sell them a premium product, we license the gold gallery, we sell them games, or we sell them the spam filter, for example, or we monetize them through search. So we've talked a lot about this search thing. Let's see what it's all about. We'll get to that in just a couple more slides. The 2008 year-over-year guidance that we gave out in the first quarter of 08 when we held a conference call was that we expect a 15% growth in user base that will translate into about 30% growth in revenues for the year. We don't really give out a lot more guidance above that, mostly because it's a very, very competitive environment. It's kind of hard for us to tell you what our average user value is, how much we pay for media buying, because as soon as I tell you that, one of my many competitors can go out and outbid me for that type of media buying, making my marketing expenses that much more expensive. So how do we replicate the business model and how do we continue to grow? By delivering new products. This one product here called Magentic is a wallpaper and screensaver software. Very basic stuff. Again, it's a B2C business that you sell to consumers in the homes. Why? Because they're crazy about this. This one happens to be very different than the other ones you've seen so far because it's composed mostly of your own digital photos. It's something that Google has a leg in this marketplace with their product Picasa, but that's more, if you guys recall, the AC/DC software. It's more of a digital photography management system where you can sort and watch your own photos. That's not what we do. We take your own photos and we design screensavers that are based on your own photography and create wallpapers. What you're seeing there are basically templates, but the actual photos in them are your own. It's all automated. It's all done on the fly. Basically, you just tell us where your photo folder is, and we start generating these wallpapers and screensavers. People go nuts about this. We've conducted focus groups. We've conducted surveys. And this product is actually already out and been distributed and is doing very, very well virally. This product is actually already generating revenue as well. We'll talk about that in a second. It also integrates with Flickr and PhotoBucket and Facebook. How does it do that? You give it your username and password, and it pretty much brings your photos from those online services. That's where the viral component kicks in. Remember the viral networks, the whole concept of Facebook and why it's doing so well? Because you want to read and you want to catch up on what other people are doing, and you also want to see their photos. Hi-O is another concept, is another product that we have already been launched, not generating revenues yet because of a tactical decision that we've made to distribute it first and get a large user base before we start introducing the revenues. What it is very similar to IncrediMail. It adds a multimedia experience, but instead of email, it adds it on to instant messaging. Emoticons, graphics, winks, and nudges, if you're familiar with all of these terms, they all enhance your communication experience using instant messaging. MyStart is the name of a service that we introduced at the end of 06. Remember that graph that started spiking up? It's because of this. MyStart is a collaboration, it's an advertising partnership that we have with Google. Just a couple of days ago, we've announced that the partnership has been promoted to what's called the AdSense Direct program. It's where Google actually comes out and signs a contract with you. Most other vendors of this program are using what's known as the AdSense walk-up service, which is basically you go online, you download a bunch of code, and if it works, and Google sends you a check, but nobody ever talks to you. We've been promoted to a higher level because of the volume of searches that we deliver to Google every day. We deliver about, again, I can't give you the actual numbers, but I will say it's higher than 1.5 million searches per day. This is what we call the big numbers game. We literally make pennies off every user, but we deliver 1.5 million searches a day every day. That generates about $30,000 a day in net revenues. The reason I say net revenues is because there's really no cost associated with any of this. This is all on top of our existing business model of selling products and services. What is it? It's a variety of things. I can't get into all of them. Again, if you want, we'll punch up a laptop in the hall and I'll show you some more. But for example, the My Start service is a default homepage that you are asked to opt into as you download and install one of our free products. As you do that, your default homepage is now My Start, which is basically a white page with a Google-based web search box, handing for email content that updates almost every day. As you search in the Google search box, you're presented with search results. And I'm sure all of you know how Google makes money by advertising, what's known as sponsored links. Anytime you hit one of those links, we have a revenue share deal with Google. I can't give you the actual rev share because that's an NDA secret. I will tell you it's more than half. So the majority of every dollar that Google makes through our millions of searches per month comes to us. That's the My Start service. A little bit about the share, the stock, and then the stock market. Shares outstanding, just under 9.5 million, and you can see how volatile of a period it's been since we went public in 06. My explanation, and people have their own versions, are actually highlighted here. We had no investor relations just after we went public. Again, this is a business that's been conducted almost exclusively online. There was no public relations, no investor relations. There was no concept like that. There were no salespeople. We just figured we'll put it online and it will work by itself. And it happened. For 8 years in a row, it just grew and grew and grew without us saying anything. Well, the stock market doesn't work that way, and we opened U.S. offices about, maybe realistically about 6 months after the IPO, hired some investor relations firm, went out there, pitched people on Wall Street, and sure enough, the stock started climbing back up again. When we announced towards the mid-year of 07 that we're going to increase our marketing budget and R&D budgets in order to develop the growth strategy, which I mentioned, the new products, stock tumbled somewhat. We had an incident with Google. If you start Googling up IncrediMail, you'll find that it was a Google incident in January of 08 where the service was terminated for 9 days because of an error, and that caused the stock to dip. And recently, right around February of 08, our CEO, which was also the founder of the company, left. And the second founder is now the CEO of the company. So we had a transition in management. Overall, volatile periods, not to mention, and it should be here, the write-down, the write-off of $5 million. So definitely, it's been quite hectic. I'm kind of short on time, so I'm going to skip the bios. If you guys want to know more about us, it's all in here. It's all on our website, and I'll be happy to discuss that. I want to show you something, and then I'll take your questions. This is a clip of our Magentic product. Okay, this is what it does. This is what it looks like. Remember, all the photos that you're about to see, it's an example. They're your own photos. And this is a screensaver. All the 3D graphics I should mention are completely designed in-house. We have a creative team of about 18 people that do all of the creative work. These products that are out there in beta phase are remarkably viral and very, very impressive. It doesn't take a supercomputer to run any of these, as you can tell, even though this is a video clip. And remember, this is designed based on your own photos or your photos that you keep on Flickr or the photos that you keep on your Facebook. So people like this because it's a personalized experience. I'm going to skip this, even though that's a fun clip, and I'm going to end here and take any questions if you have any. No questions? Yes, please. Excellent. The growth rate, the phenomenal growth rate of almost 100% over a year is mostly to the introduction of search revenues. Because remember, it's another $30,000 a day or so, that's almost $10 million a year, that trickle almost completely down to the bottom line because they're not associated with any additional cost. Yes, there is some fluctuation, but remember the currency where we sell in other currencies, in other countries, is only when we sell products and services. And yes, there has been a fluctuation, but does not account for the growth. Also bear in mind that a lot of our revenues are generated in dollars, while most of our expense is paid in the Israeli shekel. So that kind of offsets that. So really, no. I mean, we will give more clarification when we put out the earnings release out there, but for the most part, what you're looking at is organic growth, mostly due to search. Yes, sir?
It seems to me that more than 50% of your income comes from Google.
That's correct, about 52%.
Correct. Now, if Google decides to pull the plug on you, do you have a backup for that?
Yes, there's a couple of backups. One of them is called Yahoo, the other called Microsoft, and then the other two are called InfoSpace and Interactive Corporation, Ask.com. They all have similar programs in place. 2 of the 4 names that I've mentioned we already work with as a backup channel, but bear in mind we have an agreement signed with Google. We took the time, it took us 6 months to negotiate the deal with the rev share and the terms and what we're allowed to do and what they're allowed to do. So it's a contract.
How long is the contract?
I cannot disclose that. It's more than a year, it's less than 5. Yes, please. Okay. To only 50, okay, 47% is in that slide. I don't think I mentioned that number, but it is written here, and that is as of 2007. For the first quarter of 08, those numbers have already been released, it's up to 52% of revenue, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. It is growing, though. We call it, if you look at this slide, we call it the Pac-Man effect, because that little slide there, that little portion, the orange portion of search, is growing and outgrowing and eating all of the other portions of the pie. And that's a trend. Please.
Magentic and IO, how are you going to make money with those? Or are you getting more subscriptions?
Excellent question. That's one of the questions we're constantly asking ourselves. We've demonstrated in the past that as we have more users and downloads, we know how to monetize them. I would say the answer is probably going to be through search. She's waving at me to end it, so thank you very much for your time. And if you have any other questions, I'll be in the hall. I'll be happy to take your questions. Thank you.